All right, guys, we're going to go over solving equations worksheet number 2. This is the pink paper. So the first thing we're going to do on number 1 is we want the fractions to go away. So remember, we're talking about the LCM. The LCM is we have 4 and 8. 4 is a multiple of 8, so 8 is going to be my LCM. So since 4 is a multiple of 8, remember, I always stick at the biggest number. Remember, we multiply every single piece by 8. All 4 pieces, whether they have fraction or not. So I end up with 21 over 4. So I get 42 plus 8x equals negative 9x plus 8. Now remember, we're going to be using penmanship backwards, just like we did on the yellow paper. And we're solving, so that's why we're going backwards. And I don't like to do anything until I have one variable. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 9x to both sides. So I'm going to put all my x's on one side because remember, I need to have one variable. So that gives me, and I'm going to write the x's first, 17x plus 42 equals 8. Now I see addition. There is no subtraction. I see addition. So that's why I'm minus 42 from both sides. I end up with 17x equals negative 34. To get rid of the addition's gone. There is no division. There's multiplication. To get rid of that, divide both sides by 17. I end up with x equals negative 2. And that's it for number 1. Number 2, same exact concept. I'm going to start with my LCM. I see 2, 4, and 6 as my denominators. 2 goes into 6, but 4 does not go into 6. So 6 is not going to be a good least common multiple. Then I try 12. Well, 2 and 4 go into 12, so obviously 6 goes into 12. So now I'm going to multiply every single piece by 12. So I'm just going to multiply them all by 12. 17 over 4 times 12. If you're not sure, you can use a calculator. If you're using my calculators, you can literally use the ABC button. 17 ABC 4 times 12. I end up with 51. Plus 7, 6, I should have 14v equals 3 halves times 12 should be 18v. 25 over 6 is going to be 50. And 1/2 of v is going to be minus 6v. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to put my like terms together. So on the right side, I'm going to put 8v minus 6v. So the right side is going to become 2v plus 50. The left side is going to be 51 plus 14. And I'm going to make it a v because it's a neutral problem. If you make all yours an x, that's fine. It doesn't really matter to me. Now I'm going to get all my letters on one side. So minus 2v minus 2v. So I end up with 12v plus 51 equals 50. Now I'm allowed to use pen and backwards finally. So remember, if you're not sure what we're doing here, this is me. I don't see any subtraction. I see addition. That's why I'm minus 51 from both sides. I end up with 12v equals negative 1. No addition. No division. There's multiplication. And that's why I divide both sides by 12. Therefore, v equals negative 1, 12. Negative 1, 12. That's better. That's already better. All right, that's it for 1 and 2. All right, number 3, exact same concept. Remember, we're using the LCM. We have 6, 8, and 32. So remember, like I said, I start with the biggest number. 6 does not go into 32. So since that's not going to work, I immediately go to the next number, 64. 6 doesn't go into 64, so that's not going to work. I go to the next number, 96. 6 goes into 96. 8 also goes into 96. So that's the LCM. So I multiply all the pieces by 96. If you're not sure what we're doing here, we're just going to do 17 over 6 times 96. I end up with 272x. 1 times 96 is 96. Negative 473, and I press the ABC button. 32 times 96 ends up negative 1,419 minus 11 ABC8 times 96. I end up with negative 132x. Now I'm going to put all my letters on the same side, so I'm going to add 132x to both sides. So I'm going to end up with 404x plus 96 equals negative 1,419. Time is backwards, so I'm going to minus 96 from both sides. So negative 1,419 minus 96. I end up with 404x equals negative 1,515. Now I'm going to get rid of the multiplication, so I divide both sides by 404. Now there's a couple different ways to write it. You could say x equals, I'm going to write it as 15 over 4 negative, or you could say x equals negative 3.75. So either one of those are good answers. 4, exact same concept. LCM, we have 3 and 2. 2 does not go into 3, so then I use 6. So I multiply every single piece by 6. So pretty simple. Once I multiply with 6, negative 3 halves times 6. So I have negative 9n equals negative 12n plus 4n. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the ends together on the same side. So my right side becomes negative 8n. Now before we go any further, I'm going to add 8n to both sides. And really, I lied. I personally would add 9n to both sides because I like to move the smaller of the two. It does not matter either way, you're going to get the same answer. I end up with 0 equals n. All right, so 5 and 6, same exact concept we've been doing before. Remember, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute the negative 4. So I end up with negative 32b on the left side, minus 32. The minus 1 doesn't do anything, it's just hanging out, equals 39 plus 4b. So on the left side, I'm going to put my like terms together. So that's a minus 32 and a minus 1. Make sure you just put them together. You don't try to add one plus or anything like that. I have plus 33 equals 39 plus 4b. Now I'm going to get all my letters on the same side. I'm going to add 32b to both sides because negative 32b is smaller than 4b. I end up with 33 equals 39 plus 36b. And that, by the way, this should right here have been a negative 33. I don't know why I put positive. So it's a negative, and that's a negative. Now I'm going to minus 39 from both sides. So I end up with negative 72 equals 36b. To get rid of the multiplication, I divide by negative 36, divide by negative 36. B equals negative 2. 6, exact same concept. I'm going to start off with distributive property. So I'm going to distribute the 2. It's going to be 2 plus 12p. Remember, I don't do anything with that minus 2 at the end. I didn't do anything with the left side. So the left side stays 40 plus 7p. I'm going to put my like terms together on the right side. So the 2 and the negative 2, they just cancel each other out. So I'm left with 40 plus 7p equals 12p. I'm going to move my p's at the same side, because remember, when we do PEMDAS backwards, we have to have one variable. So I'm left with 40 equals 5p. All right, so there is no subtraction. There's no addition, there's no division, there's multiplication, and that's why I divide both sides by 5. So my final answer is P equals 8. And that's it for 6. All right, 7, exact same concept as before. I'm going to distribute. 7 goes to 2x in the minus 2, so I'm going to put 14x minus 14. Right side does not change, so it's 5x minus 32. I'm going to put my x's on the same side, so I'm going to minus 5x from both sides. So I end up with 9x minus 14 equals negative 32. Remember, if we're using numbers backwards, about one variable. That's why I did the x's first. So I see subtraction, and that's why I add 14 to both sides. So I end up with 9x equals 13. Negative 13 minus 14 is negative 18. Now I can divide both sides by 9. Why? Because, well, there's no subtraction, there's no addition, there's no division, there's multiplication, and I get rid of it using division. So I end up with x equals negative 2. Done. 8, exact same concept. Negative 5x goes to both sides. Negative 5 goes to both sides. So the left side stays, minus 4, minus 7x, and this does not go to both sides, and then it goes to both terms in the parentheses. So I have minus 15x plus 20. I'm going to add 15x to both sides because remember, I want to have one variable. So I add 15x to both sides. And I'm going to write the x part first. So I'm going to write 8x minus 4 equals 20. Now, to get rid of the subtraction, I'm going to use addition. So that's why I'm adding 4 to both sides. I end up with 8x equals 24. Subtraction's gone. There's no addition. There's no division. There's multiplication. And that's why I divide both sides by 8. I end up with x equals negative 3. Done. That's it for 8. All right, I'm going to try and get 4 of these on one page instead of having 2 different pages. Let's see. All right. Remember, we're going to be doing numbers backwards for all these. So if you're not sure what that means, remember, order of operations, solving is in reverse. Remember, we want to have one variable before we start worrying about it. Remember, I do this so it's always the same exact concept, whether the problem's really hard looking, has multiple sets of parentheses, one set of parentheses, no set of parentheses, it's always the same exact concept. So for like number 9, I see variables on the left side. I can't put them together because of the parentheses. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use distributive property. So I have minus 34 minus 5k equals minus 24k plus 42. Now I can put my k's on the same side. So I'm going to add 24k to both sides. And I always make sure I put it under. I like to try to put it underneath the k so I don't make a mistake. And I like to make sure my k's, I like to write my letters first. So I'm going to do 24k plus negative 5k. I'm going to get 19k minus 34 equals 42. Now I'm going to add 34 to both sides because remember, I'm going to use PEMDAS backwards. So I'm going to get rid of the subtraction. So I'm going to add 34 to both sides. I end up with 19k equals 76. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 19. And I end up with k equals positive 4. Done. 10, exact same concept. I'm going to do 6. I'm going to distribute. I'm going to end up with 48v minus 30 equals negative 30 plus v. All my v's are on different sides, so I'm gonna subtract v from both sides because the one v is smaller than 48v. So I end up with 47v minus 30 equals negative 30. Now I'm gonna add 30 to both sides because that's how I get rid of subtraction. I'm gonna have 47v equals 0. Notice the right side has a 0 because there's nothing on there. I'm going to write 0 because I need that placeholder. The variable did not disappear. So since the variable did not disappear, I still have to divide both sides by 47, and v equals 0. So remember, it's equal to 0 if the variable stays. We use true or not true, or true or false, and then write all real numbers or no solution if the variable disappears, and it did not disappear in this one. However, same exact concept, except there's a lot more distributive property. So I'm going to distribute anywhere I see parentheses. So we have 6 minus 18r plus 2 equals 8 minus 24r plus 6r. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to put my like terms together. So I'm going to do 6 and 2 together to get 8. So I have negative 18r plus 8. I'm going to put the negative 24r and the 6r together. I'm going to get minus 18r plus 8. So I did that first. And remember, when they're on the same side, you just put them together. You don't do anything with both sides or anything like that. You just do 6 plus 2. Right? There's no minus 2 or anything like that. So now I'm going to put all my letters on one side. So I'm going to add 18r to both sides. So I end up with 8 equals 8. Now the letter disappeared. So I have to ask myself, is that a true or a false statement? Since it's true, all real numbers. So you got to say it's true, and this is all because the letter disappeared. 12, exact same concept. So I'm going to distribute the negative 5. I'm going to have negative 10n minus 45 minus 32 plus 20n. Remember, negative times a negative is a positive. Equals 7n minus 12 plus 8n. Now I'm going to put all my n's together on the same side. So I got negative 10n and 20n. That's 10n. Negative 45 minus 32. That is negative 77. On the right side, I have 7n and 8n. That's 15n. And then minus 12. Now I'm going to get all my letters on the same side. So I'm going to minus 10n from both sides. So I end up with negative 77 equals 5n minus 12. And now I go back to PEMDAS backwards. Okay, I see subtraction, so I add 12 to both sides. I end up with negative 65 equals 5n. I divide both sides by 5. I end up with n equals negative 13. And that's it for 12. All right, so 13 is the exact same concept as we've been doing. So I'm going to do all my distributive property first. So I end up with negative 6x minus 25. Remember, negative times a negative is a positive 15x. All right, then I'm going to put all my like terms together on the same side. So on the left side, I'm going to do the x's together. And now I'm going to get all my letters the same side. So I'm minus 8x from both sides. So I end up with x minus 25 equals negative 44. Now I'm going to add 25 to both sides. So I get x equals negative 19. Done. 14, I'm going to distribute. So I have 8 plus 12 minus 6n equals negative 8n minus 28. I'm going to put my like terms together. So I'm doing 8 and 12 together to get 20. So the left side is going to become minus 6n plus 20. I just like to write my letter first. Minus 8n minus 28. Now I'm going to put all my n's on the same side. I'm going to add 8n to both sides because negative 8 is smaller than negative 6. So I'm going to have 2n plus 20 equals negative 28. Now we do PEMDAS backwards. So notice everything has been the exact same concept. Make the parentheses go away, combine like terms. Put all the letters on one side, follow PEMDAS backwards. So I don't do that until I have almost everything gone. So minus 20 from both sides. I get 2n equals negative 48. And then n, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And n equals negative 24. All right, 15 and 16. I'm going to distribute. So I have 25 plus 40r plus 3r equals negative 24 plus 30r minus 3. Now I got to combine my like terms. So on the right side, I'm going to have 43r plus 25. On the left side, I'm going to have 30r minus 27. Now I'm going to put my r's on the same side, so I'm going to subtract 30r from both sides. I end up with 13r plus 25 equals negative 27. Now I'm going to minus 25 from both sides. So I have 13r equals negative 42. Divide both sides by 13. I end up with r equals negative 4. Done. Finally, I'm going to distribute negative 2 goes to both. Remember, that's a negative 1 if you need to put that 1 there. So the left side is 5n plus 7 minus 10n equals positive 10 minus 2n minus n minus 9. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. So on the left side, I put the n's together. On the right side, I put the numbers and the n's together. So numbers with numbers, letters with letters. I end up with negative 5n plus 7 equals negative 3n plus 1. Now I'm going to add 5n to both sides. And you could add 3n to both sides. It doesn't matter. I just always put the smaller of the two. Is 2n plus 1. Now I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides to get rid of the addition. I end up with 2n equals 6, or 6 equals 2n. I just flipped it to make my, because I like the variable on the left. Not n, divide by 2 on both sides. And then finally, n divided by 2 on both sides, not n. I want to write n. And n equals 3.